Alright, hello all you crazy people out there, my name is Dragonite, and welcome back to Harvest December. So, in the last part, we had a bit of a run-in at a food stall with a certain god of the area, and in this part we're going to see what transpires after this. It's a funny thing, but even the most irreligious people begin to believe when they stand in front of a Sensai Senbako. If they were going to make their wish, they might as well pray hard, in the hope that something might happen even if they don't believe in it. Here it goes. I tossed 5 yen into the box. Isn't that too little? Shiro grumbled next to me as I placed my palms together. But it's tradition to put in 5 yen. Well then put in several. Why are you complaining when it's better than nothing? That's my ice cream money. You're going to steal from the box. Hey, it's meant to be an offering to the gods in the first place. They might be in Sakishima's shrine, but the god of the land has been absent for a long time. I see no problem in my taking it, she retorted matter-of-factly. Oh, good grief. I ignored her and turned forwards to the altar to make my prayers. I thought about what I was going to wish for, but I didn't know what. It felt wrong to wish for something that had to do with my personal interests, so I decided I would wish for the world peace. Well, that's broad. I wondered how much peace you could get for 5 yen. Darn, that's not much in there at all. I could probably use all that up before the day is over. With a god like this, I didn't have high expectations. Next to me, Masaki-san was praying in silence with his eyes closed. He had enough poise to be posing for a picture. I whispered in his ear. I don't know what you're wishing for, but I bet it's not going to come true. I just want a peaceful, normal life, he whispered back as if in agony. What's wrong, Masaki? What's hurting you? If it won't kill you, it will make you stronger. She said one of the biggest reasons for his pain. She really had no clue. Got it. Alright, so, I guess the implications is that he's wishing for Shiro to be a little bit less overbearing, maybe. Nanmaida. Anyway, whatever that is, I prayed. Instead of praying for world peace, I concluded it might be better for Masaki's well-being. Yep. I closed my eyes, and then there were the bells again. Exclamation point. Tayama! I looked behind me to find people in line glaring impatiently at me. As soon as they met my eyes, they put on a cordial expression. Misaki-san asked me what the matter was again. Instead of answering, I looked around, searching. What is it, girl? The god asked, amused. Being immortal, it was natural for her to be curious about anything that might bring some excitement. Hey, the food might get cold. I changed the subject, pointing at the bags of food we were carrying. Our bags not only contained boxes of teppanyaki, but a wide variety of foods like chocolate-covered bananas, noodles, and sweets. Again, the sound of bells. Let's go find some place to eat, Misaki-san said. He wasn't smiling anymore, but searching the area the way I was, curious to what caught my attention. This way! I pointed to the side, and we made our way out of the line. That's a nice picture there. I might use that for a video thumbnail. Future self. Take a hint. Just as I had thought. Not many people walked behind the shrine since the business was with everything in front of it. The three of us soon found ourselves in a rather quiet area. There was an area at the back of the shrine where we could have our lunch. We turned to the corner. Grrr, Shiro growled. We halted, our feet making a noisy stop on the pebbles. Pebbles? That was strange. Nobody walked here but us. The area should be covered in snow. The white beach is beach. It's a completely different setting. The white breath escaping from our lips reassured us that it was indeed the dead of winter. But there we were, standing in a circle of clean, bare ground. So this is going to be getting back to that god kid who was running somewhere in the intro, isn't it? I thought the area looked like it had been bombed. As if all the snow from one spot had been blown away forcefully. Sniff. I heard the sound of a child crying. Without thinking, I ran towards the sound. Hello. Are you lost? Asked the sniffling small boy. He was sitting against a pillar with his knees drawn to his chin. I squatted before him so we could talk face to face. Ai! Todo-sama, Kaka-sama. It took a few seconds to realize he was referring to his parents. You're lost, aren't you? He looked afraid and jerked a little, but as if he were thinking of running away. But then he wiped his face with his kimono sleeve as if it was an attempt to brush his fear away. His clothes were dirty and thin. I could tell he had worn them for a very long time. Don't worry, you'll be okay. I stroked his head. In truth, I didn't even know what would be okay at all. But I didn't know that it was something this child needed to hear. It's okay, I repeated. I remembered the way my mother used to put me to bed. The child looked up to me. He looked terrified. Where's your father? He's gone. Where's your mother? She's gone too. Tears welled up again. I continued stroking his head. Don't you have anybody? Nene-sama. That's your sister, right? But she's not here either. No one's here anymore. I was about to say something awful. Thankfully, I caught myself in time. But... Do you mean you don't have a family? Misaki-san said it before I could stop him. It was a horrible question to ask. It was something that could crush a child if he had to admit it. Nene-sama. My hands were useless now. No matter how much I stroked his head, it would do nothing. Not anymore. There's that picture again. Nene-sama! The boy burst into tears. He threw himself at me, hugged me fiercely as if his life depended on it. I fell over. I couldn't pull him away, even if I wanted to. I'm here. Madoi's here. He sobbed. His weight pressed me down to the ground, and I could feel the stones biting into my back. Why? Why? He didn't seem to understand what he wanted to ask. He just seemed lost. I could see Misaki-san watching me. I hugged the child back. He was warm and so small. Misaki-san was wearing a gentle look of concern. He looked as if to ask if I needed his help. But at the same time, he looked as if he knew. That the child needed me to say something, not him. I searched for words. What I said wouldn't change the situation. I was just a stranger that happened to walk by. I heard the plastic bags rustle in my arms. Oh! My sudden exclamation caused the child to stiffen in surprise. Do you want any sweets? Oh, that's not creepy sounding at all. Before he could react, I sat him up and jammed a hand into one of the bags. Eat this! I say in the sort of Phoenix Wright-ish tone. I stuffed a large 30-yen melon-flavored candy into his mouth. I heard the sound of it clinking against his teeth. How do you like it? I held my breath. It was the best I could do for him. I waited for him to savor it. It tastes really good. What is it called? Chocolate-covered bananas. You just said melon a minute ago. Mizuho Nene-sama knows a lot of strange things. Thanks, Midori. I took a sip from my can of milk tea. The honden of the shrine sat on several flat pillars and a wooden veranda. That's an English word that I don't even... It's like a awning sort of thing, isn't it? A veranda?
Wrong.
Anyway, whatever it is, it ran around. We made ourselves comfortable there simply because we couldn't think of any other place we could sit down and have our food. Got any rice wine? Of course not, we're underage. Go buy some beer from the stalls if you need a fix. But I don't like beer. It fizzles and pops all over the place. I like rice wine better. I wasn't paying much attention to Shiro and Misaki-san's banter. I was too busy watching Midori eat. He began to nibble on the food just a little, as if he was testing for poison, and then he would take bigger bites of it. Whenever he ate something sweet, he smiled adorably. I could have watched him do that forever, but I knew I had questions to ask, so I began. Can I ask you something? Yes? He looked guarded again. I glanced at Misaki-san. He was paying full attention to us. He nodded once to urge me on. What did you mean when you said no one's here anymore? He stammered in his high, tiny voice. I waited patiently. He means it literally, Shiro answered instead. Everyone's dead. Only his sister remains, but she's disappeared. Isn't that right, god of Saki-sama? Sakishima? God. You do realize that he turned the snow because of the power he has in him, don't you? What living human could make things disappear without touching them? Oh, thanks for just hitting me over the head with it. I looked at the unnatural circle of bare ground around us. Why didn't I notice this before? Sakishima, not Sakishima, holds the power of change. Everything turns upside down. That's the meaning of Sakishima if you wrote it in its original kanji. Child, do you know who I am? I am Google translating that, when I edit this. And I want to know, what ridiculous thing Google Translate is going to pop out when I do that. Anyway, do you know who I am? The god of Tagami. So you are aware. Why did you cross the boundary then? You know it is taboo to trespass on another god's territory. There are rules, because I have something to do here. Even if it meant Shiro here would bite your head off if I commanded him to. Shiro's mouth twisted into a nasty smile. The wolf, sleeping by her feet, opened an eye to stare at Midori as if waiting for his call. Midori dropped his chocolate-covered banana. The rainbow sprinkles that coated it were scattered on the floor. It's a waste of banana. You do know I have every right to destroy you now, don't you? Shiro-sama's eyes gleamed. She looked powerful, in control. Shiro was on his feet now, ready to pounce at any moment. I... Speak properly, while I have the patience to listen to you. I made a promise to Todo-sama. Hurry up, I don't have all day, and Shiro's getting hungry. But... Relax, if you're so tense, you'll harden up. Shiro would prefer you tender. Shiro-sama, I said. Stay out of this. I'm having my fun. Stop bullying him like that. I punched her in the head. I punched her in the head. Speaking of, like, video things, that's a video title. Alright? It's a little violent, but... Sure. What? What are you being so mean? You're eating the stuff I provided, and you dare pick on a child I've taken under my wing? Sergeant Mizuho would not allow that. Actually, I'm the one that brought the food. Shut up! I threw another punch at Masaki-san's jaw, knocking him out again. Shiro, you aren't getting any better. Why did you play along? Midori is terrified now. Apologize. Gruff. But it's my job. Apologize. Woof. I apologize, God of Sakashima. Good boy. I'll give you a sweet to reward you. Grrr. I'm not a child. Do I need to read the words in parentheses? I don't know. Here, eat this. Super jalapeno red hot chili supreme candy. I don't know if that's something the dog should really be eating. Unable to translate. Sure. On that day, a rumor spread amongst the town people that a horrible howl they had heard coming from the mountains was the beginning of a curse that would last of the last of the Japanese wolves. But that's another story, which I kind of want to hear now. I remember reading somewhere that it's pretty bad when animals faint with their tongues hanging out. I told you. Of course, the visual novel characters don't listen. Misaki-san commented as he studied Shiro, who had fainted with his eyes peeled white and his tongue hanging out the side of his mouth. Occasionally, the canine would spasm, making me feel uneasy. He'll manage. He is part god, after all, isn't he? Gods can be slain in certain circumstances, you know. Girl, you are quite destructive. I'm a human, what would you expect? I couldn't have put it better myself. Looking amused, Shiro patted Shiro on the side, although it provided a little comfort. Can you tell me what you're here for? To keep a promise to Todo-sama. Is it secret? Something you can tell me? Well then, give me a hint. What's a hint? It means something that will help me guess what it's about. I passed him a cookie. Midori started nibbling on it. Midori is looking for something, he said as he finished his treat. That's it? Misaki-san urged. The powers Midori needed to become a proper Tochigami are hidden here in Tagami. Midori must find them. Why would anybody hide your powers here? It's quite common in legend for gods to hide their powers. Really? I didn't know that. That's because you're uneducated. Hey! There are always humans who want to steal power from a god. Gods who fear them will remove themselves from their reach in order to hide their powers in something they deem to be safe. How about you, Shiro-sama? Do I seem like the type to you? She gave me a cheeky smile. She looked as if she were enjoying my confusion. I couldn't tell. Well, okay, but I think I understand that a bit. I have another question, Sensei. Ask? You mentioned that Tochigami aren't allowed in territories belonging to other Tochigami. No crossing of boundaries. Don't you humans set borders too? Besides, under unusual circumstances, it would be nearly impossible to do so. Shiro stroked the gap between the two planks of wood in her finger. Because who in his right mind would forgive an invasion? She placed a small juice on each side of the gap. What? But Midori made his way here, Misaki-san said as he pushed one can to the other side, making the two cans touch. I am a little lost as to what they're exactly doing with these cans and the, like, wood and stuff. I'll figure it out. It's not as if I'm always aware when somebody manages to cross the boundary. Sometimes, in moments of carelessness, you make a slip. Same with gods. Shiro glanced at Midori. Midori or Madoi? I'm suddenly wondering if it's Madoi. And quickly looked away. I'm like used to Italian pronunciation, where the accent is on the second to last syllable. Anyway, that explains why Madoi is able to retain some of his powers here. In some sense, I have allowed him in. I haven't done anything to destroy him after he's managed to step onto my grounds. How are you so careless? It is the new year. Is it usual for your powers to weaken in the beginning of the year? Misaki-san asked curiously, but Shiro shook her head. I was just too busy eating the offerings and scrounging money from the sun. Sounds like a time for me to take a drink of water. Enjoy the swishing noises in the event that I forget to edit that out. Alright. I was just too busy eating the offerings and scrounging money from the Sais and Bako. Couldn't be bothered to see what's wrong with the boundary malfunctions. When the boundary malfunctions. So do you have like a security camera and things like that set up? Do your job, Masaki-san and I cried out in unison. Hey, even you guys have holidays, why can't I slack off once in a while? I really don't want to know. Well, there are stories about gods setting up an annual rest day in mythology too. Masaki-san showed some understanding with his weird logic. I say as I almost fall off this exercise ball chair. Ow. Better not do that. Again, I think I've mentioned this in past recordings, but I am sitting on an exercise ball when I record this, instead of a chair, because, I don't know, I like to fidget and it prevents me from fidgeting and screwing up my microphone or something like that. I don't know, that's not really the reason. Anyway, it doesn't sound too big a problem. Mizuho Nene-sama knows about my powers. No, I don't, but... We got our local god right here who would know everything about everything about anything on this land. Tell us where it is, Shiro-sama. How would I know? You're just joking, right? You believe so thoroughly that if I'm a god, I can do anything. Why would you assume that? That's been a common theme through the first 2 chapters of this game so far. It's been more convenient if you do. It's just more convenient if you do, correction. Convenient for you, not for me. Shiro sighed, exasperated. You really don't know anything, Shiro-sama, Masaki-san repeated. I'm the god of Tagami, so I know about the things related to Tagami, but not of Sakashima. Nor do I want, or need, or have, or anything need to know. Just like the child here only knows my name. I see. Misaki-san nodded. So what about now? He turned to me. What now? I repeated. Mizuho Nene-sama? Midori looked worried. Marui, whatever. I didn't understand the question, but it was so obvious what we should do. I stood up. Attention, comrades! What? Private Konno Masaki, Private Shiro-sama, Private Shiro, please welcome our newest member, Private Midori. Huh? What? She's gone mad. She really has. Gruff. Which is to say, I never signed up for this. Here, we face a grave problem that may have countless obstacles. I paused for dramatic effect. My comrades looked at me speechless. Good. They must have been memorized by my charisma. However, we shall overcome every one of them. Think of the adventure awaiting us, the excitement, the romance. We shall do the impossible and overcome difficulties with the strength, courage, and passion we have in our hearts. That's probably the qualities we lack the most. We shall succeed gloriously, kind of, in every mission. The people shall shout our name and all. We are... One Piece? Here, I pointed towards the blue sky. The Mizuho Toyama Adventure Squad. That sounds horrible. And thus, our January story begins. Is that the end of the chapter? Before we get started, that's the end of the chapter. So, my name is Dragonite. I hope you all enjoyed this. I will continue this in the next video. And I will see you all later.